I don't know. I guess I'm not woke, okay? Fine, you win with your gay stuff. That's what you want, right? To win.
Hello to you, welcome back to my corner. I've been very, very ill, so I haven't been able to record as much, and that makes me very sad. But I'm here now, I'm recovered from COVID, and I think that this video will be my first proper political one, so if I get anything incorrect, then just tell me. Because I'm literally still learning about how I can help with different causes and speak out about different issues, so I may sound a bit newbie. But let's just go over the agenda for this little discussion. First and foremost, I want to talk about what the helly is going on with the word woke nowadays. Because people on both sides are throwing it about willy-nilly and not really understanding its beginnings or what it can mean. So I would want to put the history first today and explain where exactly this term/word was born. Then we're going to look into what exactly it means and examine how it's used today. Like, sometimes I feel like it's just used to describe human decency, but that is something we are going to talk about later. As well as that, woke being used as a sort of insult by many of the left, and we'll get into that later too, greases the cogs of the machine, I do think. IMO. But that's the basic gist of today's video anyway. So get a warm drink and get a cozy while we learn about what the freak woke means. Sometime after 2020, woke started being thrown around as an insult towards liberals, Democrats, the LGBTQ, those who wish to be treated as an equal. But that isn't where it started. It isn't an insult. Somewhere around 1923, Pan-African activist Marcus Garvey used the adjective woke to empower the black community that was so heavily scrutinized back then, and is still scrutinized today, hence why we still need empowerment like this today. But anyway, the word was used from then on to describe political and race enlightenment. The term stay woke was used a lot in movements, especially the most recent in our lives that still needs to be talked about today. Woke faded away into the void near the end of the 1900s, but resurfaced once more, thankfully. The murder of Michael Brown in 2014 sparked the Black Lives Matter movement, and through the internet, the term woke used by that specific movement spread. Woke has adapted itself for many different types of political and humanitarian causes over the years since then. And this is kind of off topic, but just because the term has spread to different causes doesn't mean that its meaning has changed for each different one. Our individual fights for equity is everyone's fight for equity. We've all been oppressed and abused by the system and those in power with wealth. Our fights may be different for different types of people, but they are fights for people either way, and we must stand together, not apart. Anyway, now that we've talked briefly about the history of this adjective, I just want to get a basic understanding of how this word is used today. Some people in a position of power, I won't say who, created a delightfully creative phrase using the word. He called it the woke mind virus, which he claimed killed his daughter. Firstly, this sounds absolutely insane. What does this even mean? This was often used online, specifically on Twitter, to describe basically everyone who does lean left. This description gives off this terrible connotation that people are sort of being indoctrinated into leftist ideologies, and anyone who thinks even slightly more humanitarian is just like this infected, dumb zombie spouting out the same dribble. It sort of transformed the internet's perception of woke into something negative, like it's a disease to say that you shouldn't say a slur that's been used for 100 years to degrade a certain group of people and then play it off as a joke. But what does the general public, the American public specifically, think about the word woke? In a poll from March 2023, 56% of people in America think that the term means to be informed, educated, and aware of social injustices, which is pretty accurate. However, 39% think that the term means to be overly politically correct and police others' words. With over 50% of Republicans agreeing with that statement. No single person who changed the definition. No immediate switch. It was a slow transition into what now is usually seen as an insult. But does it have to be an insult? Do we have to keep using it like this? It'll take a while to change the way it's perceived by the public and the internet. It always does take a long time to do something like that. But I do think that there is time to turn the tides. This next discussion is gonna get a bit philosophical, a bit psychological, or biological even. In today's society, people use the word woke to take a jab at anything. Someone going through hormone treatment, someone going to a protest, someone standing up for theirs or someone else's rights. They really don't like it when someone shows even a hint of acknowledging the absolute bollocks that is today's political, health, and education system. And some would say that being woke is just human decency. Standing up for someone is human decency. Helping someone when they're down is human decency. Being altruistic is quite literally in our DNA as pack animal. And I do think that what woke means today is just human decency, because why would you see someone else down in need of help and not help them? Why wouldn't you listen? Like, okay, yes, I guess I am woke for wanting bodily autonomy. But some people would beg the question, what even is decent? What is good? And I'm here to give you the psychological, biological answer that I learned in a few books in my zoology biology heavy animal management course. So altruism is not a word that we hear often, but it is most certainly very important. It basically means doing something for someone else when it might not benefit you. So no, it isn't doing something so that you can stay in the pack, get more rights, eat more food. It is doing something because you deem it as right. But what is right? Something that doesn't hurt something else, silly. Helping an elderly person down the steps of a tall building. Right. Making a fascist mildly uncomfortable because you told them off for holding an anti-abortion sign. Still right, because he is directly harming someone and you are helping the harm end. Let's just look at some animals. Not because I have animal autism and I want to talk about animals. No. Dolphins will comfort distressed companions. Elephants will help care for their friend's baby. Mother octopuses die making sure their young survive. Monkeys groom each other. And you might be thinking, but Ro, that can't be altruistic because monkeys are getting a stack out of a parasite. But monkeys tend to get very focused on what they're doing and end up making themselves a very easy target for predators. So make of that what you will. And adding on to that, there was a case of a seal under attack from an orca, many cases actually, before being saved by two humpback whales, one of which let the seal hop onto its stomach while the other defended them both. And whales often save seals, despite them not necessarily needing them in their life cycle. So the only assumption that we can make is that altruism, human decency, goodness, comes incredibly naturally to us, especially as pack animals, especially as animals with such high of an IQ that we have. It goes on to make me believe, and just bear with me while I say this, that anyone who genuinely doesn't care for someone else or does nothing to help anyone has something actually wrong with them. And I'm not saying that we all should naturally live in a happy, crappy environment, because it's natural for creatures to snap at each other, and some terrible things do happen in humanity and in the world of the animals. But we shouldn't be questioning whether or not it's normal to help or do something to make others smile. It's not selfish to help, it's not selfish to feel happy when you make someone else happy. Because guess what? Oxytocin and serotonin, bitch. So when someone is saying their wokest opinion is that they think that neopronouns are okay, then they might just be a decent person who realizes that the words people use to refer to you do not directly cause a nuclear attack on a major city. If you pick on someone and call them woke as an insult just because they think that he/him lesbians, meaning women that use he/him and love women, aren't hurting anyone, then you are kind of a weirdo. But let's move on to how woke used today as an insult on both sides greases the cogs of the fascism machine and literally doesn't help anyone ever. Have you ever seen that thing where it was like, that one friend, that's too woke? I guess I'm not woke, because I have. And I don't know how fast this part is going to do, but I do have a few things to say. Okay. I think that first and foremost, there is a difference between too woke and chronically online. Because when you're chronically online, you replace real life experiences that give you mental stimulation with online experiences, of which online experiences are usually hate, drama, and 13 to 15-year-olds. No hate to that age range if you're watching this video and you're 13 to 15, but if you're younger than 15, you should probably get off the internet, like stop watching this video and go have some childhood fun. It's gonna be so dark. I also want to say that I don't think that you can be too woke. I think that from the word's original meaning, you can't have enough of that. I think that you can just get people who take things too far. Aside from that, whatever age you are, I'd say an aspect of being chronically online in this sense is speaking for minorities and not with them. I had an old friend tell me that I couldn't say fruity because it was a slur against queer people. Like, babe, I'm queer, I am gay, I am fruity. I have never seen this. A lot of this speaking for happens in circumstances where it's like, there is an extremely long list of slurs that are just most of the English language that you cannot say. But most of it is just made up by people online. They haven't checked with the minorities. And the minorities haven't even said this. Usually it's like some like white person, like cis white straight person with like a K-pop background just being like, you cannot say fruity. I am exaggerating a bit obviously, but you do see stuff like that, especially in 2020 when everyone was very online. Unless it comes directly from said minority's mouth explaining their perspective and what their community finds harmful, don't spread it around. Doing stuff with no extensive knowledge or evidence is just performative. But anyway, just as you would expect, very young people who don't understand their emotions, excessive internet use, and extreme drama would result in a few things that we would see as strange. Like, and I might get shot for this, but many of the different sexualities you wouldn't normally see. There are some sexualities that literally just redefine aromantic, that describe someone questioning being a lesbian, and although some actually do make sense and do have a point, some would just confuse a young person trying to find themselves and could make them stop searching any further. And I'm not going to say that it like makes a mockery of the LGBTQ community, but because it does not, okay? That statement is used by people who are probably just like, I'm not one of the bad ones, like, you are one of us. But I'm not really talking about things like shark gender or meow gender because, like, as an autistic person, you'd see yourself in a different way, usually. Many autistic children would see themselves as something not human, and that's okay. It's the same with autistic adults. Because I cannot deny that it would be cool to have the aura of a shark or feel as cute as a kitten's meow. But honestly, the more I think about it, the more I actually do come to realize that that is just woke. Woke in the realist, natural sense. Because woke is being aware and accepting and being a decent human being. And just accepting the fact that someone might express themselves differently to you. So in today's society, where woke is used as an insult to make it embarrassing to care and be politically active, we need to realize that this just greases the cogs of the machine. I'm sorry if I keep mentioning that, but it is low-key, high-key true. We need them to stop turning the cogs. We need to celebrate differences and actually be a decent human being that cares about our surroundings and each other. So with that, let's just wrap this whole thing up with one last section. Before I start this, I just want to say I'm so sorry for how dark everything is. It's like, what's the time? 4. It's 4 p.m. in the UK in late autumn, so. We know and understand the past now, and that is great, but we need to think about how we're going to use this word from here on out. I did say earlier that I think we can turn things around and use woke as it originally was used, to describe someone politically and emotionally intelligent. Someone who stands up against oppression, and someone who stands up for those who need support. But now we're coming towards a fork in the road. Do we embrace woke, or do we cringe at the very thought? Personally, we should embrace it. It's literally just being a good person and helping out your fellow human. Why would anyone cringe at that? Anyone who genuinely thinks it's cringe to help people and be kind might have some sort of mental issue. If you are genuinely like that, I plead you to go outside, have a walk, allow love into your life, and go see a psychiatrist. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching until the end. It is so difficult with me in like full-time education, dealing with chores and personal things. Oh, chores. Because I want to make more videos so bad, but I just never have the time or the energy. But I am proud of myself for finishing this, because you can always make time for hobbies. Thanks. I think my next video is probably going to be about forced representation, so if you'd be interested, please subscribe. Thank you again for all 3 people watching this, and bye bye bye!